Let us talk about innovation at a firm and technical innovation development at a firm. Often in literature we talk about innovation development. That is when you kind of invent something new within a firm. And even though that is still an invention before it is spread, people talk about it as innovation development since they kind of assume that this invention will be spread later on. And firms often develop innovation through development projects or research projects. They call one department research and development department. That is often the case, and they might have someone who is the manager of the R&D department. That is the people that are supposed to innovate. However, innovation can happen anywhere within the firm. There could be continuous improvements of the operations, of the organization, of the way to communicate. So innovation can happen anywhere. But in this course, we are focusing on the R&D department and what's happens there. It is also possible that people within an organization think that, okay, this organization is so large and so bureaucratical that it's very hard to be creative and it's hard to actually get approval for doing things here. And then they get ideas and think that, okay, but maybe we can start innovating under the radar. That is often called skunk work in the literature, and this term skunk work has kind of leaped into the industry as well, so you can hear people talk about skunk work there as well. That is basically perhaps a middle manager who authorizes people within his or her division to work with something, but they don't tell people higher up in the hierarchy, and they kind of work with it so that they have a kind of good prototype and get kind of long in the development of it before they tell the people higher up in the hierarchy what they have been doing. But how do we innovate at a firm? How do we find the knowledge that we need? Often we already have it. We have people who know. It can also be as a result of a search process when we realize that, okay, we know this, but we need to know a little bit more in order to find a solution to this problem. And then we might research into technologies to see, okay, what is the latest news? What is the latest that has been brought up in the academic world? Is there anything that we can leverage into our technology platform or our product platform? Firms can also try to analyze the market and see, okay, we are serving these client segments, but these clients do not buy anything from us. How could we reach them? What would they be interested in? Can we kind of develop something that would be of interest to these people as well, or these firms as well? As a firm, you can also look at what competitors are doing. Is there anything that you need to catch on to and that you can kind of follow in their footprints in doing, so that you have the offering that your clients might ask from you as well, since they got it from a competitor before? And this is especially important when you have a large state-owned client who work within the law of public procurement, which is enforced in Europe. Because when you have clients who have work under the law of public procurement, they need several suppliers because they want them to kind of give similar bids so that they can decide on the best offer. Then it is especially important to see what competitors are doing so that you can partake in these bids. Juan Hippel has written a book about the sources of innovation, and he emphasized on complaints and feedback from clients. That's a good source of new ideas, because they have tried our product, they have tried similar things, and they can give you good feedback, and the things that bother them can be something that you can leverage in your innovation development. And how should we decide on when to enter the market? I want you to learn about a few terms here. The first one is first mover. And that would be the first one who enters the market with a new product. The benefit of that is that you get brand loyalty and technology leadership. People start with your brand and they might stick to it. They also kind of start to view you as the one who leads the development, that you know this technology. If there are some kind of scarce resources out there needed in order to be successful in this market, then you will be in a good position to capture them if you are first. And you can exploit buyer switching costs. It might be difficult for buyers to go from your product to another product, and then they might stick with you a little bit longer. However, there's also a high failure rate. If you're out there first, you will be the one who is the guinea pig, basically. You will try out things, and people might learn from your failure. So they might leverage the fact that you were first. You also have to bear the bulk of R&D, marketing, supplier and distribution expenses. You are the one who is shaping the market. You're the one who tells client that this new product is out there, and that costs a lot of money. If you're later in entering the market, you might not have to spend as much because the first mover has already done that, and the first movers have already done that. I've added a link to an Harvard Business Review paper in the end of this lecture, and in that paper they advocate being a fast second mover. That is entering just before the dominant design is set. So they think that is best because then you get to partake in setting the dominant design, but you have lower failure rate, and you can kind of rewrite history to appear to have been first after a while. But how do you know when the dominant design is about to be set? Well, you have to be on the lookout for a few things. A slowing rate of innovation is one sign. Another is the growing sense of legitimacy. The product is accepted by consumers. And the third one is the appearance of complementary goods producers. So then the dominant design is about to be set. So that's the time to enter. But if you're a fast second, you have to be prepared for this point in time. You have to have mastered the new technology, and you must have a product design and a set of manufacturing and distribution plans. And you have to have a marketing strategy in place in order to enter just before the dominant design is set. Then the third term here is a late mover. That is when you enter after the dominant design is set and the market has started to stabilize. Then you can use the strategy of low price, because then you had the time to focus on the process innovations to produce this innovation. Then you can capitalize on investments made by first and fast second movers. And you can adopt newer and more efficient production processes while the first movers are stuck with earlier technologies. The first movers might have invested into the processes of producing the product while it was not entirely set in stone what the product would look like. But you, on the other hand, will know what the product is, what it's going to do, and you can also look at what others have done before to a certain degree, and then you can kind of gear your processes into just doing that, and that might be more effective. So there are pros and cons with all of these strategies for when entering the market. Before we move on, I would like to mention the concept of competitive advantage. And competitive advantage would be something that make your company stand out and be effective in competing with the other players on the market. And sources for this could be product or service differentiation, new products or services basically, improved functionality or better quality. It can also be improved process technologies. It could be cost reduction strategies, or it could be reduced time to market for new products. And the list could go on, but it's something that kind of distinguish you on the market, something that make you competitive in comparison to the other players on the market.